chance that they actually reached out to him. I told them to, but I don't think they did.
It's really a great piece of work, and I'm not even finished yet. I've just arrived at the chapter entitled New York.
Oh, A Haunting in New York?
Yes. And
I'm
maybe
Ron Burgundy?
Maybe you can give me a hint as to what's still to come for me, because I haven't finished the book yet.
Well, in that chapter, it's essentially about talking about a couple of the places that I've played that were considered haunted. One of which was the Rapids Theater, which is it's technically Niagara Falls, but it's just outside of Buffalo in New York State. And talking about that, and then the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
right.
Which, anyone who's ever been in a band has played. Anyone who's ever, had to drive out of town and from Des Moines has probably been to a show there. It's not too far away, but it's a gnarly, gnarly building, and it's been around since, I want to say, the 20s, the early 20s. It was a gentleman's club. And then it became a Y, I think, and then it was a club for Nazi sympathizers.
Really?
Yeah, in the late 20s. And then during the influenza epidemic, because the hospitals were so small, it was turned into a children's ward.
Ooh.
And that's where a lot of, I think, the weirdness comes from.
Some trapped souls in
and
there.
I talked about it in the book when I was on my solo, the first solo book tour that I did. We played there, and I played the little place, not even like the bigger place upstairs, but the little place. And I'd never played there before, so it was pretty rad. It was essentially they'd remodeled the bowling alley and made it a club. So I'm walking through, and to get to the backstage area of that room, you had to walk through the swimming pool area, which anybody who's familiar with that building knows is in the very bottom of the place. And this is in December, so it's freezing cold.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm walking through, and I mean, it's creepy as it is. And I turn around and I see this little kid in like an old style dressing gown. And I just kind of, and I turned back around, because I mean, it was literally like a split second. I saw it, and I turned back down, and I stopped, and I was like, what the hell? And I'd swing back around, gone. And that's just one of the things that happened. I mean, Johnny Chow can tell you pretty definitively that something weird was going on there. He had a massive door shut in his face. And I mean, I watched it happen. And this was a door that was being propped open with one of those seriously heavy wooden door wedges. And I mean, that thing wasn't going anywhere, and we both watched it slam shut like somebody had shoved it. Like, it was gnarly.
There's a difference between a door closing and a door being slammed, where there's an actual force being applied to it
because
somehow.
This thing slammed with the force of, like, torrential winds, man.
Wow.
It was gnarly.
That reminds me of some of the anecdotes you shared regarding your time at the Houdini Mansion and recording Volume 3 with Slipknot, and that's another of the chapters in the book, and happens to be my favorite chapter, at least thus far.
I figure, a lot of the fans have loved that chapter because it gives a little insight into making that album.
Sure it does.
And the thing is that it's not essentially just about the activity that was going on there. I mean, there was a lot of upheaval, not only in my life, but in a lot of people's lives during that time. So it was like a transitional time for myself, for Slipknot, for, the guys really trying to kind of, basically just kind of take stock of where we were, and I think that's one of the reasons why that album came out the way it did. So it was fun to, kind of read about the fans' reactions about that stuff. It's like, oh, that's wicked, and telling them about the little things here and there that made it onto the album, and like, it was pretty cool.
The book, again, is A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Heaven, or How I Made Peace with the Paranormal and Stigmatized Zealots and Cynics in the Process. I'm wondering if anybody's actually memorized that, or do they all read it?
They all read it, yeah.
I'm
it's
guilty.
Like, I wrote it, and I haven't even memorized it. Like, it's always a surprise to me, and I always think there's something else coming, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Don't want to get too far off topic, because you should be very proud of this book.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Absolutely. But I do want to mention that Slipknot has been in the conversation quite a bit lately.
Yes.
Obviously, you guys have played some shows, and there's been a lot of rumors regarding the writing of some new songs. Can you give me any idea of where you guys are at in that process?
The plan is for Slipknot right now. We have one show that we're doing in South America. It's the Monsters of Rock Festival or something like that in Brazil. And we're really looking forward to that. That's in October. So it'll be good to get away from the cold, go down Southland way, and just be like, we're not coming back for a while.
Hang out near the equator that time of year.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good down there. We're doing that, but that's the only show we have for the rest of the year. Next year, we're going to start putting some demos together and working on new material for a new album. And that's kind of been the plan for essentially that was the plan before I even started recording the House of Golden Bones albums, was that once that tour cycle was done, we were going to stop, take a little break, kind of reconvene, and then start working on new Slipknot music. And that's, so we're actually running ahead of schedule because Stone Sour is off the road indefinitely. So that's what the plan is right now. I've been writing a lot of stuff. Joey's got a ton of stuff. Jim's always got, Jim and Mick both always have like a catalog of pretty sweet riffs. Clown's got a million ideas. I mean, this whole band is so creative that there's no way that we're not going to be able to do it. The thing was, we needed to allow ourselves time to heal, time to grieve, time to really kind of reconnect as a band. And a lot of us, we had a lot of, darker stuff going on in our lives, man. And Paul was a hell of a wake-up call, and I miss him like crazy. And you kind of have to look at it from the standpoint of, what good do we take from it, and that's really kind of been where we're at. So, a lot of the guys have really started kind of focusing on themselves and really getting healthy, and it's been great, And I'm very, very proud to say that the 4 shows that we did in Europe were the first ones that we did all sober in years.
Wow.
That was a big, big moment for us, man. So I'm really, really proud of the guys. And I'm, it's bittersweet, but at the same time, we're starting to feel that excitement again to make new Slipknot music. So it's the start of a new chapter, and we'll see what happens.
Corey Taylor has been my special guest, not only a New York Times best-selling author, but he's also a man of the world.
Well, I know my way around it. That's what she said. Oh!
Ain't no rest for the wicked. You might get time for a nap every once in a while.
A little bit, just a little bit. As long as my legs, get me to the bed in time,
Thank you again for your time, my friend.
Thanks,
and we'll reconvene perhaps here in 2014.
You know it.